Have you ever thought about what it would mean if the very ground under our feet could be bought and sold just like anything else? Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today. We're talking about a truly radical idea the British brought to India, turning land into a product.
So, what's a commodity? Simple, right? It's just something you can buy and sell. Think spices, textiles, you name it. But here's the thing. Before the British arrived, land in India really wasn't seen that way. It was part of your family, your community, your history. It wasn't just another item you'd find at the market.
And then everything changed. The British introduced this new concept, private property in land. Now, this wasn't just some small administrative tweak. This was a fundamental rewrite of the rules, turning something tied to a community into a modern financial asset that one person could own, buy, and sell. And this new system basically meant three huge things. One, land became saleable. You could sell it. Two, it was mortgageable. You could use it to get a loan. And three, it was alienable. That's a fancy word, but it just means ownership could be totally transferred away from you. Think about that. The sacred bond between a family and their ancestral land could now be broken with a simple cash transaction.
So you have to ask, right? Why? Why come in and completely upend a system that had been in place for centuries? What were the British really trying to do?
Well, it really boiled down to two big goals. First and foremost, they wanted to secure their revenue. And second, they had this belief that their new system would actually make the land itself better and more productive. Okay, let's talk about reason number one. It's the one that always matters: money. The British administration ran on cash, and its main source of income was land taxes, or what they called land revenue. They needed that money to be predictable, steady, and on time. No excuses. And this new system was, from their perspective, a brilliant solution to their cash flow problem. See, in the old days, if a peasant had a bad harvest and couldn't pay, the government just had to take the loss. But now, that same peasant could just mortgage their brand new private property to get a loan and pay the tax. And if they just refused to pay, no problem. The government could now legally seize and auction off their land to get what it was owed. It was a foolproof system for the Treasury. The second reason was more about an idea, an ideology. The British really believed that private ownership was the engine of progress. They thought that if someone, whether it was a big landlord or a small peasant farmer, a riot, actually owned the land, they'd have a powerful incentive to invest in it. Dig a well, use better seeds, and make it more productive. All right, so we've got the why. Now let's get into the how. Let's see how this all played out on the ground by looking at the three main characters in this new economic drama: the peasant, the moneylender, and of course, the government. So it all starts with our peasant farmer, the ryot. The tax collector's knocking, but after a bad monsoon, his pockets are completely empty. In the old days, this was a crisis. But now, thanks to the new rules, he has an option. And that new option is the local moneylender. Because his land is now a valuable asset, the peasant can literally trade the deed for a bag of coins. The land itself has been turned into collateral, a key to unlock cash. And there you have it. The peasant takes that borrowed money and pays the tax collector. The government official is happy, the state revenue is secure, and from the government's perspective, the system is working exactly as designed. But hang on, here's the million-dollar question, isn't it? What happens if the next harvest is also bad, and our peasant can't pay back that loan to the moneylender? What's the hidden cost of this new financial lifeline? The answer is simple, and it's absolutely brutal. If the peasant defaults, the moneylender gets the land. It's his now, legally. And just like that, the farmer and his family who might have worked that same plot for generations lose everything. They become landless laborers overnight. So let's just step back for a second and think about the big picture here. This policy wasn't just about collecting taxes more efficiently. It fundamentally rewired the entire power structure of rural India. What you end up with is a whole new hierarchy. At the very top, you've got the government, its revenue totally secure. Then you have the moneylender, who suddenly has all this new power, gaining land and becoming a major force in the village. And at the bottom, the peasant, left in an incredibly risky position, always one bad harvest away from losing it all. Let's just break down the final scorecard. Did the government achieve its goal? Absolutely. Revenue was secure. Did the moneylender do well? You bet. He gained immense wealth and power. And the peasant? Well, he got a way to pay his taxes, a short-term fix, but in exchange, he took on a catastrophic, life-altering risk. So really, the key thing to remember is this. For the British administration, this wasn't just a policy choice. It was essential. Making land a commodity was the engine that powered their entire colonial project, allowing them to pull revenue out of a farming economy where very few people actually had cash savings.
And that's what we're left with. On paper, the system was a success. The government got its money, and a modern market for land was born. But it forces us to ask a really heavy question. What was the human cost of that efficiency? It created deep insecurities, shattered traditions, and shifted power in ways that would echo for generations to come.